discrimination against the disabled, discriminating against those who are visually impaired, passengers who have service animals, emotional support animals, apparently is alive and well in rideshare. Make no mistake about it, whether you drive for Uber or Lyft, our passengers apparently are complaining that when they arrive to the vehicle with their service animal, whether they're blind, disabled, you name it, drivers are discriminating against those trying to put animals in the vehicle. Yours truly, I have personally done this. I have a host of reasons why we will talk about it, but apparently this is getting to be problematic for some passengers. Check this out.
Have you ever called an Uber or Lyft and been denied? If you're blind with a service animal, it's happening more times than not, according to a North American survey conducted by a professor at Grand Valley State University. By the way, denying ride shares for blind people with guide dogs is against the law, yet drivers still do it. The two people we spoke to are fed up with being left at the curb in the dark, literally. Meet Bill and his guide dog turned best friend, Rilo.
She's always looking at me. She always wants to help.
A friendship bound by this harness.
I don't have to worry about what I can't see and can't hear, because that handle tells me that I'm safe.
Bill has Usher syndrome, a disease which causes blindness and deafness.
I literally walk out the front door and the world becomes a hostile place.
He's referring to his experience using rideshare services out of the 33 trips he's taken this month.
They're emotional, they're confrontational sometimes.
And discriminating.
The gentleman pulls into the driveway. He sees the dog, immediately rolls down the window and starts yelling, "No dog, no dog, no dog."
Bill's experience is not exclusive.
Okay, Chad, find me a seat, please.
Melba and her guide dog, Chad, know it all too well.
I experience frequent rideshare denials, but from an anecdotal standpoint, I didn't know if that was a me issue or a West Michigan issue.
In partnership with Guide Dogs for the Blind, Melba Velez Ortiz, a professor at Grand Valley State University, and her team developed a 16-question survey, including 185 guide dog users in the U.S. and Canada. The percentage of rideshare denials, staggering.
Close to 85% of all of our participants reported not just that they are being denied service on a one-time basis or a couple of times.
It's happening on a regular basis, for some more than once, causing psychological, social, and economic impacts.
Blind people rely on public transportation and these rideshare services to not just visit relatives, but to go to medical appointments, to go to job interviews.
It is a federal law through the Americans with Disabilities Act that service animals are to be admitted into public spaces. The act says in part, privately owned businesses that serve the public, such as restaurants, hotels, retail stores, taxi cabs, theaters, concert halls, and sports facilities, from discriminating against individuals with disabilities. Both Melba and Bill hope that by bringing this issue to light, it doesn't get left behind like they've been.
This is our right. This is a need that we have.
Very disorienting. It's very demoralizing. It's just difficult to ask people for a ride as it is.
Melba says the goal of this research is to get rideshare companies to enforce the law, while Bill wants rideshare workers to receive proper training. If you've been a victim of rideshare denial, we have a link where you can file a complaint in the web version of this story on fox17online.com. Reporting in studio, Yasmin Ludi.
Now, as you see in the video, it is indeed against federal law for yourself as a driver to discriminate against someone who has a CNI dog, a service animal, emotional support animal, you name it. It is against the law to discriminate against some of these folks. Nevertheless, we're going to get into a few things. Because like I said, I'm not a fan of putting animals in my vehicle for the simple fact that unlike the city bus, or any public institution, us drivers do not get the same protections. If that animal slobbers in your vehicle or causes any damage, it is on you as a driver, and we don't make much to begin with. So this is it's a little bit different for drivers, if you ask me, but we want to talk about it from an aspect of federal law, because you see in the video, the newscaster is talking about how to file complaints, because you got the passengers stating that when they arrived to the location, a driver rolled his window down and yelled out, "No dog." First of all, don't ever do something like that. Do not, as a driver, ever tell the passenger the reason you're not letting them in your vehicle is because of their issue. We talked about this in regards to not wanting to get out the vehicle and deal with walkers and wheelchairs for the disabled. That also applies with service animals. If you're going to reject letting an animal in your vehicle to avoid the complications of legalities, don't yell that out to the passenger. So this blind man, and I kind of feel sorry for him, but yeah, that whoever yelled that out to that passenger, you're giving him a good reason to get in contact with Uber and file a complaint, which would probably have that driver completely deactivated from the ride-sharing platform altogether, because it also leaves that passenger an avenue to sue Uber, assuming this was an Uber driver, or Lyft for violation of the Disabilities Act or whatever the hell protects these passengers. Flat out, if you don't want a service animal in your vehicle, the minute you pull up and you see somebody with an animal, if you don't take animals, drive off. You don't have to say a damn thing to the passenger. As we talked about with disabilities, this leaves you plausible deniability for why you didn't take that trip. You pulled up, your engine light came on, you pulled up, you smelled gasoline, you received a phone call from your spouse. Any excuse you can come up with for why you suddenly could not take that trip that has nothing to do with that passenger, their assisted device, or in this case, a service animal. Now, make no mistake about it, there's a lot of reasons why it has come down to this. First of all, Uber or Lyft could make this a lot easier by notifying the drivers ahead of time that passenger has service animal. That way, anybody that did come to pick this passenger up was aware ahead of time that there would be a service animal getting in their vehicle, so that any driver that shows up, you can guarantee it's not a surprise to them. They already know what to expect, and they wouldn't come if they had an issue with a service animal. So Uber and Lyft should let drivers know ahead of time that this is the case. Two reasons. First of all, it doesn't leave passengers like the gentleman in this video having drivers come. He came outside, he's blind. He walked out to the curb to get in the car, and all of a sudden the car drives off. That's an additional hassle to that passenger. Not to mention it's a waste of gas to the driver that came over there as well. But it also exposes Uber or Lyft to lawsuits if the driver yells some crap out the window like this. By notifying the drivers that you're going to pick up someone that has an animal, it eliminates all of that, because only drivers that are okay with animals would show up to begin with. And it would close the door for any possibility that drivers were discriminating against these type of passengers. By the way, when these passengers sue because they were discriminated against, that's going against Uber or Lyft. The driver don't have no money to begin with. As we've covered in many videos, the drivers are barely making minimum wage. So Uber and Lyft would be in their own personal best interest to notify drivers about these animals. Now, why would drivers be so insensitive, so cruel not to take passengers who are blind that need an animal to, navigate properly? Yours truly, I'm not a fan of animals. I'll try to avoid them if I can, but I do sympathize with someone who is blind that has a service animal. However, we know it goes above and beyond service animals. There's emotional support animals. There are animals that do other things other than just for the blind. But as I stated earlier in the video, if you get an animal in your vehicle and that animal is scratching up the upholstery, slobbering, you name it, hopefully they don't let go of any waste in your vehicle. That's probably not likely, but at the end of the day, it is an animal. All of that's on the driver. If that dog gets in the vehicle and decides to pee in your car, jumping on you, licking on you while you're driving, using their paws to scratch up or scuff up the seats, 100% of that is on the driver. You have no guarantee whatsoever that if you reach out and contact Uber or Lyft, they will do anything at all to help you recoup any damages. So when you factor in the average trip is only paying $3 to maybe $7 or $8 to the driver, it's simply not worth the extra risk that carrying a service animal comes with, not to mention animals shed, things like that. That leaves more for the driver to have to vacuum out. There's just no added benefit for the driver at all. And that's just simply talking about what the animal may do. Understand if the passenger is blind, you may also have to get out of the vehicle and make sure that the passenger has gotten in the vehicle, open and shut the door. I mean, it may not happen, but it can lead to a very minute amount of extra physical labor. And once again, when we're talking about $3 to $7 or $8 per trip, there's no incentive to do it. I hate to sound, insensitive, but understand Uber and Lyft drivers, for my folks who may be watching this that are not drivers, the pay is bare bones. There is not a lot of money being made by rideshare drivers. We talked about in Minneapolis and we talked about in Seattle where they're fighting just to get drivers around the minimum wage mark. You got drivers out here who are regularly driving for less than minimum wage. There's not a lot of incentive to go above and beyond when you factor in only a small number of passengers tip. So even if you do go above and beyond for passengers, there's no guarantee they will show you a damn bit of gratitude. We talked about veteran drivers carrying luggage, carrying groceries, laundry bags to houses, carrying things up steps for passengers and getting nothing, barely getting a thank you. So the more duties Uber or Lyft try to filter to the driver, naturally there's going to come with some resistance because they're not filtering any type of gratitude along with it. So having to get out of the car, let's say somebody who's blind with a service animal does get in your vehicle and maybe it's drizzling and raining outside. You got to get out of the car and walk around. I mean, you're getting out in the rain. You're getting nothing for this stuff. Hopefully the dog's paws are not wet where they're trampling in mud. I mean, there is no incentive at all to do this. So the idea that somebody talking about a rideshare driver may resist this, there's no reason really not to. Now, there's also no provisions, no protections for drivers that may have allergies, that may have fear, be fearful of dogs. A lot of folks have had bad experiences with dogs when they were younger. Maybe somebody got bit and they're traumatized by these animals. There is no protections in the law for those folks. If you are a rideshare driver, you are supposed to take service animals regardless if you are even allergic to them. Once again, Uber and Lyft's not going to do anything for you in terms of dealing with your allergy. The Benadryl or whatever the case may be, all of that's on you. All of that is on you as a driver. If you don't get the message being delivered here, I don't know how else to tell you, but there is no incentive to do any of this stuff. In combination with the fact that the base pay is exceptionally low and passengers regularly do not tip. Maybe 20% to 30% of passengers tip. So if you get 10 people in the car, you'd be lucky if 3 of them get out and give you, anywhere between $1 and $5 of a tip. So in being blind or being disabled doesn't increase the likelihood of these folks tipping. So there's no incentive to do it. I mean, if you're going to pay the bare minimum, people want to do the bare amount of work, which is pull up to your house, hit the unlock, you get in the car, they drive you where you're going, hit the unlock, and you get out. having to get out of your car yourself as a driver and deal with bags, groceries, dogs, wheelchairs, and walkers, and you're getting nothing for your effort, yeah, there's no incentive at all to do this. So I just wanted to wrap it up because, yeah, I've had this experience a few times where passengers wanted to get in my vehicle with animals, and I'm hesitant. I'll just say it for legality's purpose, for legal purposes. I am very hesitant to take animals into my vehicle for the simple reasons that I stated here. There are no incentives for doing so. No financial incentives, and the possibility you could be dealing with headaches from the dog to hair to having to get out and provide assistance, all of that stuff. The ride-sharing companies have done both the passenger and the drivers a big injustice by not notifying drivers ahead of time that they may have to deal with this stuff and not encouraging passengers to tip. But what say you folks? How do you feel about service animals? Have you ever had any experience that has made you deal with this situation differently? Maybe you've had a dog get in your vehicle while you're driving. The passenger is not controlling their animal. The dog's trying to jump up in the front seat and things like that. A lot of folks feel their dog is harmless and feel like everybody should be friendly with animals. You shouldn't have a problem with them licking on you, things like that. Not while you're driving. Not while you're driving. So let me know in the comments, folks. Certainly there are new prospective drivers watching the videos all the time. And the whole purpose we do this is to let other people know what ride sharing is indeed like. As always, feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.